What is going on, everyone? While the market had another choppy and boring day, we are seeing a handful of stocks start to go ballistic. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the best setups and predictions for tomorrow, some important news to be aware of, and some other crazy things that are surprisingly happening in the market right now. But Tom, in pre-market today, SPY was rallying pretty good off some GDP data, but clearly that couldn't hold. So let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, it really could not hold up, and that GDP data this morning was very, very important. It's what really sent the market a lot higher, and I'll be honest, heading into market open, I thought that the SPY was going to have a great day, Mike, and by great, I don't necessarily mean it was going to run up to like 460 or anything like that, but I thought it would at least hold this support around 456 after we had that nice breakout of that double top that we talked about last night. So I was watching it, and then as soon as the market opened, it ripped a little bit higher, and then we started tanking, and I'll be honest, Mike, it was a rough day for a lot of the tech stocks out there. Like, Apple had quite the pullback. Now, I know, like, if we go look at a percentage drop, it's not down like 10%, but whenever you see that pullback and how nasty it was intraday, you go to Microsoft as well. That's another one. It's very, very concerning when you see those tech stocks dropping with such velocity. And Microsoft's actually back under that 380 support again, which it broke a couple days ago. So now we got to try to get back above there. And I don't know if we'll be able to tomorrow or not, but that GDP data this morning was definitely huge, Mike. And as we go switch over to the GDP data, it grew at 5.2%. We talked about this a lot last night. If we go over to the economic calendar, they were expecting around 4.9 to 5%. So to see that growth come in better like that was a great sign. It shows that the U.S. economy actually is making good strides. Now, this is a little bit scary, though, at the same exact time, and the market started tanking a little bit lower because we actually saw some Fed members talking about that, rates might need to be held up a little bit longer if the economy is doing really well, right? Because when do rate cuts happen? When the economy is generally doing worse. So if the economy is starting to do better, I don't know, Mike, are rates going to stay higher? That's kind of the fear that crept into the market today.
Yep, so we shall see. But one thing that I thought was pretty interesting is if we head over to a heat map, basically over the past month, the big tech stocks have really been carrying the market to the upside. But what you'll see today is, especially on like the left side of the screen, we saw powerhouse companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Tesla, Amazon, and other powerhouses like those actually in the red, while we saw other stocks that, don't always get the same level of hype that kind of, shifted to the upside a little bit. And this basically caused a giant chop fest. But the main thing to take away from this is that we are starting to see some of these big tech stocks start to see a little bit of capital flowing away from them. And honestly, I'm not really too surprised, especially given that we have some of these stocks like Microsoft at all-time highs.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised either. And, whenever you have uptrends, there's always going to be slight times of downtrend, right? This might not be the exact top yet. The market might keep going. But whenever we look at this big outflow of these tech stocks today, it was pretty rough. Like, Microsoft got back under support. Apple's sitting right on a key support that it's been sitting at for a couple weeks, right around like 188 to 189. So I'm going to be watching these stocks very, very carefully, Mike, and especially over the next couple days with the way the market's looking, because that pullback today was rough. Now, this could just be a slight pullback and then the uptrend continues, right? Sometimes that's how bull markets go. But whenever you see just that many tech stocks take big hits like that, and some of them are around those key supports, like if Tesla flops at their Cybertruck event tomorrow, oh man, Mike, that might be like the nail in the coffin right now, and the bulls, or the bears, might start finally taking control again. But for right now, it's very mixed out there in the market, and a lot of these stocks are back in that choppy range that they were stuck in. Hopefully we're not stuck there too much longer.
Now, I think we're going to leave this range very soon, and that's a great thing for short-term traders. But while the market is stuck in a choppy range, one stock that is certainly not is GameStop. So we're getting some early 21 2021 type of vibes from this company, as GameStop is up over 20% on the day. It is getting a lot of hype and momentum and volume getting pushed into it right now. We all know how crazy this stock has been in the past. And, of course, in the past, when you have GameStop, when it went from like $4 all the way up to $120 over the course of a couple weeks, when you start to see it rise by 20% in a day, you already know it catches a bunch of different traders' eyes.
Yeah, it really does. And Mike, I could not believe what you found today with GameStop. I was blown away whenever I saw this unusual whales post, and a trader turned 70 grand into 1.28 million in 2 days on these GameStop calls. Mike, I don't know if this guy had some inside information or who it was, but wow, I mean, that was one hell of a trade. 70 grand into 1.28 million within 2 days. I bet everybody out there would love that.
I don't know who wouldn't, right? But yeah, I mean, that's a crazy, crazy trade, and it just brings in even more hype. So either way, GameStop is such like a risky, crazy stock where it's good for like short-term scalps and like quick trades, but again, just be careful holding this stock because it is one of the craziest stocks out there. But either way, the volume's flowing into it, so keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, like it's not something that I'm going to ever like buy and hold for the long term and like hope for like a resurgence with GameStop, right? But it is a fun stock in the short term, and man, it's up like 45% combining the past couple days. It's definitely eligible to be on the radar, and I noticed even AMC started to try to come up today. They were even up 7%. Oh man, Mike, are we going to see a rotation out of big tech and into GameStop? I mean, this is looking wild.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, either way, keep a close eye on these meme stocks going forward. It's pretty rare that they actually go up and run, but when they do, they normally run up in a pretty powerful way. So that is that. But Tom, just a couple minutes ago, you mentioned Tesla and their Cybertruck event coming up. So tell us more about that, because there's even some hype flowing into Tesla.
Yeah, there really is. And whenever I look at Tesla stock, it kind of followed those tech stocks back down today. But yesterday, it had a ton of hype. And tomorrow, it might get even more as their Cybertruck event is starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be streaming on X. I repeat, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. They're going to be at their factory in Austin, Texas. They're going to do the delivery for the first Cybertruck to 10 customers. So that is huge, Mike. I don't know exactly what they're going to talk about at this, but people are expecting pricing and a bunch of other things to be talked about. So hopefully he mentions good news about production and that they're on track to get a lot of these things built. And I think it should help Tesla, especially over the longer term. And there's a really cool countdown like on their website, of course, with like a graphic of the truck. But I know that this truck has a lot of controversy, Mike. Some people love the way it looks. Some people hate it. I actually think it's a really badass looking truck. I think that they did good trying to do something different, which is nice. And with how many pre-orders they have, it's in the multiples of millions now. So I don't know the exact number, but Mike, it's going to take a while to fill them, but then again, not everyone's going to, get them on the pre-orders.
No doubt, but either way, keep a close eye on Tesla stock for tomorrow. In the past, anytime it has any big event or optimistic outlook or anything like that, this stock has moved quite a bit. But on another note, Tom, while we're talking about, you could say automobile stocks or, stocks in this industry, GM actually had one of its best days in a very, very long time, as their CEO basically said that the stock is undervalued and has really incentivized some new money to flow into it. Basically, they announced a $10 billion stock buyback program, and on top of that, they increased their dividend by 33%. When it comes to buying and holding stocks, there's really two things that really entice investors, and that is stock buybacks and dividends. So, clearly a lot of new money flowed into this company today, and it's worth watching because it's pretty rare to see a stock like GM up about 10% in one day.
Yeah, that's wild. 9.3%, and the average percent rise for this stock is 1.19%. Like, that is a huge increase over the daily, the usual move up, we'll say. And whenever I look at GM here, it's moving back up into that range. You know, there was a big range it was recently in between 31 and 42. Or pretty much between 30 and 40, if you want to, make it easy. But whenever I'm looking at this range, are we going to start heading back up to that $40 mark? I would not be surprised. I mean, the stock is very, very oversold. And as we start to see this rotation that we've been talking about, maybe this is one of those stocks that people will start to rotate into a little bit more. And with them increasing the dividend, and they keep talking about strategy, making these EVs and stuff. Like, look at this Chevy here, Silverado EV work truck. Looks a little bit different than your standard Chevy, but man, it's just cool to see them continuing to, I guess you could say, like, advance with the other companies out there, like Tesla and Ford. I know is getting into EVs a lot, and it seems like everyone's trying to get into that.
No doubt. So it's good to see their innovation as well as their buyback and dividend increase. So good stuff there. But Tom, we had a couple stocks report earnings today, and they have been mostly positive so far. Salesforce, which is ticker symbol CRM, is up pretty good in after hours. And then also Snowflake, ticker symbol SNOW, is also rallying. So make sure to keep a close eye on these two stocks tomorrow as well.
Yeah, those were the really big earnings for the week. And honestly, from here on out, there's not really too much. We have Kroger tomorrow, MRVL in after hours, but these two stocks will be extremely fun to look at, being more of tech stocks, right? And I know Snowflake has been a pretty popular stock over the past few years. And I know right now it got very low. It's been chopping around this channel. Maybe it'll start to break out of $200 or at least test it over the next couple days. So I'll definitely be watching for that big whole dollar mark to hit once again, because it's rejected off that level a couple times over the past 2 years or so. So if it breaks there, I think it could continue up in a pretty big way. And we've seen a lot of stocks recovering up lately off of lows. So honestly, it's awesome to see it, Mike. Like, I love seeing these stocks start to finally come up.
Exactly. So there we go there. And then we do have Powell speaking on Friday, but it's not that crazy of an event, and we'll talk more about it in tomorrow's video. So with that being said, let's get right into the action for tomorrow, which are some setups we're watching. So a stock I'm watching pretty closely is VRR. It's Fiverr. It had a pretty great day as it popped up by 7%. Historically, it's still at a very low level. This stock had highs of like $335 a share back in February of 2021. And right now it's lingering around 26. It's finally starting to show some like good upside potential as well. And it's not really correlated with the market either, which is a perfect thing, especially in this very choppy market. So either way, I'm watching it pretty closely to the upside going forward. And I think for the short term, it's presenting a great risk reward to the upside.
I actually like it quite a bit too, Mike. And for all of our technical traders out there, it's almost pulling off like a Head and Shoulders. I know people love to talk about that one, but it's not my favorite setup with the Head and Shoulders. But I love the support, and I love the way it's moving up here, Mike. I'll definitely keep it on the radar. It's another one of those growth stocks that's doing so good in the short term. For tomorrow, I'm going to be watching Apple. It's going to be really in both directions, because I think that today's pullback could be a bit of a fake. The market's been so bullish lately. I need more than just one day to convince me that we're falling, right? So I'm going to be watching Apple here in both directions. But what I'll say is, if the support breaks, I think that'll be the best opportunity, and that'll be to the downside. So I really want this 188.80 to 189 support to break. If that breaks, I think we'll see a pretty safe scalp down to 188, but then watch that support. It might even break that and go lower. So I'll be watching that very, very closely tomorrow. If it does run up and ends up breaking above like 191, then I'll look at calls. But like I said, it'd be pretty tough for calls tomorrow. It'll have to really rip to break that.
All right, there we go. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Meta, and it's to the downside. So this one is super overbought, and I think it can definitely pull back in the short term. And it already started pulling back as well. It's down around 2% on the day, and the intraday price action was basically bearish all day long. So I think this one can definitely see some more selling pressure come into play tomorrow and just for the rest of the week. So I just like the risk reward to the downside over the next couple days. And it looks like the market itself is kind of slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree, and it'll definitely be a good watcher. A lot of these tech stocks seem like they're just ready to turn over, right? I think people are just waiting for it. But with my next play, I'm going with Pfizer. This is actually a bit of a different setup than I usually talk about. This has a strong negative correlation to the SPY, so that's green down there, but keep in mind, it's a very strong negative correlation. I'm really watching Pfizer to come up here over the next few months. Now, I'm not saying that this thing's going to necessarily rip up tomorrow for sure. Obviously nobody really knows on a day-by-day basis exactly what the market's going to do. We could wake up tomorrow and there could be some economic data that comes out that sends us down, right? But I'm going to really watch Pfizer here. They're starting to bounce off support around 29 to 30, and if we continue to see the support hold, I will look to buy shares and even short-term options on it as it starts to break out. Like tomorrow, I'll be watching $30.20 very, very closely, and I'll use $30 as a pretty big support. So let's go Pfizer, Mike. It's been oversold for, man, how long has it been falling now? Almost like 2 straight years. So I'll definitely be looking for this one to recover up at least a little bit here. And we're getting into that time of the year, where people get sick and all of that. So maybe we'll see a short-term uptrend.
All right, good stuff. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Google with an L to the downside.
Yeah, with an L, the Class A's. So I'm going to be watching for them to fall under 134.50, just under that 135 support from today. That'll be a pretty good move to the downside.
All right, with the next one, we have the powerhouse NVIDIA to the downside, and I already know some people are going to get triggered with this one.
I know, right? But here's what I'll say, Mike. They've been doing pretty rough here for the past week or even couple weeks. So I'll be watching this support very closely tomorrow, right at 480 even. It ran today down to 478.88. If we break 480, you can maybe use that as a quick area for your scalp. But if we do break 480, I could see it going much lower. So I like it for tomorrow, Mike. Let's watch that 479.50 area.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Tesla for both directions.
TSLA, nice support intraday right around 242. So if we end up falling under that, then look for some puts to the downside. If we end up breaking out above 247, then eye up the calls.
All right, so we have that upside level for calls, and we have the downside level for puts, and this is for Tesla. Don't forget about NVIDIA and Google, and those are potential plays to the downside only if they break below the levels Tom listed. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into today's big money $1.99 million trade of the day. And we are looking at ticker symbol INTC or Intel. So basically today we had a big money trader, we'll say, place a bet that Intel will rise going forward. More specifically, they bought a call debit spread on Intel. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Basically, the higher Intel goes, the more money they'll make, technically to an extent. But they bought the Intel 45 strike calls, and they shorted the Intel 55 strike calls, both of which expire way out on January 16th of 2026. So basically, the way this is we have a big money trader betting that Intel will rise, but they bought a ton of time with these call options. And overall, it's a good setup. It's just, it will take some time. So it's a good setup, but if you follow it, you have to be willing to give this one the time it needs.
Exactly, and I'll say this, Mike, even if you did buy it short term, Intel is on quite the run right here. I'll be honest, Mike, I don't think that this run's just going to turn over and this thing's going to start selling off. Sometimes when these stocks go on crazy runs like this, they could continue for quite a while. So I'm going to keep this on watch short term and long term, but like you said, these go out to 2026. So, keep that in mind, guys, but oh, man, what a run by Intel lately. If it does start pulling back, though, just realize, this is a long-term play, like Mike's saying.
You know it. Well, good stuff there, and I do want to remind everyone that today we are doing a live Q&A and education session for all members in the Stocked Up trading floor. So if you guys are not already a member of the Stocked Up trading floor, our live event will start today at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 8 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Pacific Time. So come join us. We do these events every single week, and we cover, trading strategies. We do a Q&A, and basically every single time we do it, it's a great time. Everyone learns, and overall, they've been great. So come join us tonight. It'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below if you aren't already in the Stocked Up trading floor. But with everything being said, Tom, the market has been extremely choppy lately. That sucks, but if you can survive this, you can survive anything. Going forward, whenever we see any movement at all, whether it be to the upside or the downside, it will make the opportunities in the market so much easier to trade. So I look forward to that quite a bit. But with that being said, do you have any final thoughts, or is there anything else on your mind?
Yeah, all I got to say, Mike, is Tesla better not flop tomorrow at this Cybertruck event. This stock's been coming up pretty well lately. It's running up into a major trend line. If this event goes well and starts breaking out in a big way, I'm sure a bunch of buyers are going to run in. So really be watching tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Watch Tesla. It could even make the overall market rally if it's good enough. So let's watch it very close, Mike. It's going to be a very fun event. And hopefully the truck does better than their battery day a couple years ago. Oh, boy. That battery day really sent them down. But just keep it on watch, guys. There should be a lot of volatility with this stock tomorrow.
There we go. And last but not least, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Amazing Marley. You've been in the Discord for around 2 months now. You've been super active, and you've been a great member the whole time. So huge shout out to you. You deserve it. But with everything being said, guys, the market should get a lot easier to trade going into tomorrow and the rest of the week. So look forward to that. And besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.